I'm a Barbie girl. And
Why are you coughing?
I'm sick.
We're sick, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out we both got sick. AP was already sick at DebateCon. Managed to get through his debate. I got sick right when I came back. Yeah. So, if we go into fits of coughing, ladies and gentlemen, or if we die, what are you going emo for? What is this emo?
Oh, we're live already? I thought we were practicing. This is what we normally do is before we go live, David usually starts with, all right, everyone, TikTok time Iraq, and then he gives a monologue, and then we're like, okay, well, this one didn't work out, then we try again, and so on. We do this like a few times until before we go live, so I wasn't sure if we were live or not.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Hey!
What?
Hey, you heard of this J.D. Vance guy?
Who?
J.D. Vance.
Oh, yeah, the president.
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever. I don't know if I ever heard of him before. Before he was running for vice president, but oh man, this Theraflu is pretty good. These are not actual jihadi tears, ladies and gentlemen. This time they are. This is Theraflu. All right. So he gave this pretty epic speech. To the European Union. And was pretty brutal. So this was the Munich speech. Munich speech. You familiar with this place? Munich?
Yes.
You ever been to Munich?
I actually have, as a matter of fact. And it is an interesting place. It is a very well-organized, very nice place that is also a big city, which means that it also has its bad sides and so on. But it's actually, statistically seen, one of the safest cities in Germany, and it's considered the safest big city in Germany.
Well, if you like it so much, why don't you move there?
I'm going to do that right now.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we got a bunch of requests to go through J.D. Vance's speech. And I went ahead and checked it out and was very interesting. He was calling out European leaders for basically turning into what they despised for so many years. So for many decades, you had the Cold War, and it was Europe trying to save itself from being conquered by communists. And then the communists finally are, the Soviet Union finally collapses. And then Europeans start going, hey, let's be exactly like communist Soviet Union. And that's their dream.
You see.
Wild stuff. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we'll take these first couple super chats, and then we will jump right into the J.D. Vance video. It's about 19 minutes. We're going to go through the entire thing. If you notice that when we play stuff from other channels, we tend to stop a lot, and some people complain, why don't you just play the entire 2-hour video? Because you can't. It's illegal, and they will give you a copyright strike. But I don't know, but this is from the White House site, so doesn't that like belong to everybody? I don't know how that works. I think if it's a government thing, then it can be used by the people. I don't know if there's any official rule or something like that. We're gonna find out. We're gonna play this thing. Less interruptions, because I think you'll get more. You'll get more leeway posting someone else's content if it's from the government. I think there's something about this being ours. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and check this out. First couple super chats. Thoughts on U.S. trying to free Andrew Tate? Extremely messed up. In fact, that's why I keep telling people, hey, isn't it great what the politician is doing? And I'm like, I don't trust politicians, guys. I don't. You could do 25 things I agree with. I'm still like, you're about to do something really screwed up. I have to say, if this administration applies enough pressure to Romania to free Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate of the horrible things they've done, I am not going to trust this administration anymore, period. I'm not saying I would disagree with everything they're doing. I'm just saying I would not trust them as competent leaders if simply because Andrew Tate has a friend in the administration and he's got a lawyer friend over here and that one chick who was on Benny Johnson's show, like, I'm such a fangirl. Can I be one of your cam girls? If the U.S. government would actually say, you know what, let's get that guy out of here so he never has to face justice just because he's got a buddy, I would think this is pretty darn corrupt system.
So here's the thing. I have been following the case a little bit, the news on the U.S. allegedly pressuring Romania. So the report first came out, rumors came out that that the Trump admin is doing such a thing. The Trump administration itself never officially confirmed anything at all. However, there are some people, I think, what's his name, Grinnell, and others within the... So Grinnell, a special presidential envoy for special missions of the United States. This guy and certain others are apparently fans of Andrew Tate and are pushing for Andrew Tate to be treated well by Romania, but Romania says nope, we're not doing that. So
good, because here's the thing. The U.S., if they wanted to, could apply enough pressure if they wanted to change the entire outcome. They could sweeten the pot if they wanted to. Hoping they don't go that far.
Trump himself apparently hasn't done anything, as it seems, and might not even be aware of it. But he has appointed certain people around him who apparently love a sex trafficker and trafficker of minors and rapist like Andrew Tate. Among those is also the whole legal advisor Alina Habba, who went live with him, and
pick me, Andrew, pick me.
In a very, very rare instance, despite usually dressing appropriately, only went live with him with her cleavage showing and tilting her head and basically giving him a virtual feed. And then she stopped commenting on it after she was called out by lots of people. So apparently there are some people in his government, which is kind of compromised, who pushed for it. But from Trump himself, nothing came. And from Romania, apparently a minister today responded and said there is actually no official request from the Trump administration for any such thing. And also, we will not do any such thing.
Good.
That's what they said. So... that's the thing. Now, there were some people who were saying stuff like, even if you don't like them, Romania is not fair, so they should be... Nobody cares. Nobody cares. If you have any concerns about the fairness of trials in Romania, you can reserve that for after the trials are done. You don't just interfere in a legal process saying, they might not treat him fairly. This means that you are engaging in corruption. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are perverts, are traffickers. Scumbags. At least one of them is a rapist. The other possibly two. They are violent, scumbags, criminals, and so on, and they deserve justice. I hope they get imprisoned forever. And if the Donald Trump administration officially took a position in helping them, I would immediately denounce it and so on. Yeah.
Even though you voted for it.
Yeah.
You voted to get Andrew Tate released.
Yes.
As far as the fairness of trials in Romania, two things. One, Andrew Tate said that's why he was going to Romania, because the system is corrupt and he can bribe people, right? So that's on him if the system is messed up. He specifically chose it because he believes you can pay people off and so on. Second, keep in mind, I want the trial to be fair. I don't want Andrew Tate punished for anything that he didn't actually do, and I hope that he faces justice for the harm that he's done to various women and girls. So that's about all I can say. Thank you, Serge.
Surge.
We are all sick. Get well soon.
What's up, Ida?
Yeah, I started going into coughing fits earlier. So far, I haven't. Hopefully, this Theraflu works. Moving to America with my wife sometime soon. Leaving the UK and this oppressive anti-free speech government behind me. God bless America. Well, let us know when you get here. Benji, because yes, as many problems as the United States has, we look at stuff that's going on in European countries, and we're like, whoa, we thought we had it bad with some of the stuff's going on.
Just one thing. What's a Benji? Just one thing. If you're going to come to America, just make sure that you practice and get rid of the British accent, because there are lots of things that people say about America, and that there is like racism, oppression, and so on. Mostly it is not true, but when it comes to British people, when people hear a British accent, like I regularly see people bullying or kicking around.
Like just start punching them. When you hear a British accent, like everyone around them just instantly starts punching them in the face.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up.
I would work on that.
Yeah. Misha says, Ezra is so powerful, he convinced an entire group of people that another group of people worship him. J.D. Vance is also this powerful, you see? These are all good. These are all very good points.
Nice.
Yo, D. Wood, Mo Hijab come to the Netherlands. Utrecht in Jabbers to lecture about Islam. If you plan to come here, I can help. I speak Dutch and can help you paperwork and maybe a place to stay. Not 100% sure. I will probably focus on making videos. That does seem to be the best way of getting information around there.
He's going to the Netherlands, to Utrecht. That's very, very... we have a serious problem.
Who does this Kufr hillbilly think he is to tell Europeans what to do? A fucky? Ha! He didn't even make it through Quran summer school, the weakling. This is all true. And it is very, very mean and shameful. Very mean and shameful that... No, it's interesting because, guys, I'm in this really, really weird situation. Historically, I don't trust politicians on either side. I always think if you were actually good and would make a good leader, you'd never survive. You wouldn't make it. You'd never get into the position where you're elected, because that's how messed up the system is. But I keep seeing these glimpses, like with J.D. Vance's speech here, like it's pretty good stuff. But it's always like, man, I can't start praising you for awesome stuff, because I don't know. It seems like 2 months later you're going to do something I'm going to be like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. But I'm trying to keep an open mind. That maybe some politicians can be better than others, and let's see what they do. Christoph Heusgen, chairman of the Munich conference, cried in his final speech. Yeah, I see. That's what sucks, because again, we're both sick. So I pulled up the J.D. Vance speech, but I did see all this stuff about people like crying and whining and stuff. I was like, I wish I had a chance to get all that stuff pulled up. But yeah, apparently a bunch of freaking babies. Isn't that weird? Oh, we can't believe he told us that we shouldn't be oppressing our own people. What would life be without you, David? God bless. Life would be very boring without me. Thank you, David Pleasance.
Shout out to my daughter. My daughter is in the chat. What's up, daughter?
What? Who?
Continue.
Oh, just daughter. As a Hungarian, pains me to say, but based Romania.
Based.
You two should wear sackcloth. Will that help us with our colds?
Yes.
Y'all are doing great work. Stay encouraged. We shall. Oh yeah, we're not discouraged. We're not discouraged. Fortunately, guys, we do have the personality types where when people come after us, we dial it up. We don't like I get banned by the UK, which again wouldn't have bothered me terribly if they told me ahead of time and I didn't make all these plans and stuff like that. But now that it happened, it's like, okay, crack down on videos, make a bunch of dope videos. And that's what I shall do. Drooling face. Oh, super sticker. Did JD watch your video? Did he did this after that? What do you mean? Did he watch our video? Yee, AP recognized me. I'm famous. Ida.
Ida is based.
It's Ida. I-D-A.
Ida is based. Ida, what's up?
You know there's a German name, Udo?
Yes.
Did you ever meet someone named Udo?
Yes. No, I actually haven't.
Interesting. All right, these last couple. Seeing Rob laugh in your debate almost killed me. That's what... Robert Spencer's laugh There are three people whose laugh really cracks me up. One, it's Mufti Abu Laith, and it sucks that they invaded his home and stuff like this, and he had to dial things back because he was making fun of like Salafis and stuff pretty hard, and he would just crack up laughing, and he's hilarious. Anthony Rogers has a funny laugh. He's like at something, and then Robert Spencer has a funny laugh. But yeah, all those guys crack me up when they laugh, which is good because I'm hilarious, so I'll be around them, and I'm hilarious, and they're cracking up laughing. The lamb gave his life for you. Muhammad gave his life for some lamb. I'm screenshotting that. I'm screenshotting that. I don't know if you stole that from someone, CD. Is this Central Dawa giving us these dope jokes, CD?
That's a very good one.
Does AP know he is golfing with you at Maragaza? Oh, no, I didn't tell him. We already agreed. I've already said AP. I already announced that if Gaza does get turned into a big golf course or a partial golf course controlled by the United States, that we are going to go there and I will play golf for the first time. Have you ever played like real golf, not mini golf?
No.
Okay, so me and AP will play our first round of golf ever at that place if it gets turned into a big...
You haven't played it either? You have never played it?
I played mini golf. I've never played actual golf.
It's kind of funny because for the longest time, I always thought that looks like a really, really fun thing to do. I really want to play golf.
It looks like the most boring thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
No, it looks like great strategy stuff. It's like I would love to do that actually.
There's a hole down there, and they're like, "Oh, get this ball 200 yards that way in that hole," and any idiot can do it. It's just a matter of how many times.
It's much better than baseball.
And you're not actually running. You actually run in baseball.
Some garbage.
I mean, dude, I can't stand soccer. I think it's basically the estrogen of sports, but even soccer is better than... don't get me started. All right.
By soccer,
there's a hierarchy of sports, man. There's a hierarchy of sports in terms of manliness.
By soccer, you're referring to football, which is the most popular sport and also the most active and most exciting sport in the world. But yeah, whatever.
Bunch of guys running around hitting a ball with their purse. Come on, dude. All right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check out this video. So JD Vance. There was an intro and stuff. I cut that out so we can go right to the speech. Let's check out the Vice President of the United States absolutely humiliating European leaders and calling them out for... it's really good because, one, you got to have the guts to annoy a lot of people like this. But he's saying some very important stuff. Lots of European nations are heading in a dangerous direction. We've all seen the 60-minute clips where Germany is saying now they're storming people's houses and stuff for insults. You insult people. And it can be an insult on social media, and they're coming to get you. Wild, wild stuff. And these are AP's heroes. These are AP's heroes. Oh, Germany does everything right. They're screwing up, man. They're screwing up. Stop worshiping them. All right. Get you. Here we go. JD Vance, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you. And thanks to all the gathered delegates and luminaries and media professionals. And thanks especially to the host of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible...
What?
Did you just say you're welcome when he said thank you?
Yeah, he said thank you. That's politeness, man.
We have the same thing. We have the same stupid sense of humor sometimes. It's just...
That we're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. And, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, I was fortunate.
Dang. I didn't catch that when I first watched it, but hey, I just joked with this guy that we both have new positions. And one thing we need to remember is that we have this political power so we can help our people and make their lives better. Isn't that interesting? Like every other European politician right now, like, we have to use our power to silence people and oppress them and conquer them. Freaking idiots. Anyway, back this up a little bit. I liked that.
State Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually.
Oh, hang on. He said after yesterday's attack. Which attack was that? The attacks are so frequent now, I can't even keep track of them. It's like every day there's an attack in Germany or Austria. Which one was that? Is that the car one? Is that the car?
Yeah. There was where a car plowed into a crowd and injured 30 people. Wait a minute. I want to check the latest updates on that, actually. 2 people are now announced dead meanwhile. So 37 people were injured, 2 people were killed in the attack in Munich. And the attack was carried out by an Afghan asylum seeker and Muslim who shouted Allahu Akbar and La ilaha illallah and so on as he was taken on the ground.
Scoop Dog says, don't you think Vance looks like he's always got mascara on his eyelashes? Yes, he does. But some people are just born like that. Like when they say maybe he's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline, some people are actually born with it. They don't need the makeup. Isn't that interesting? And we have here, Sean recommends a 2 golf course solution. That's a good idea. 2 golf course solution. What?
37 people were injured. 1 child was resuscitated on the site. 2 people died because of their injuries. A 37-year-old Algerian-born woman, so another immigrant from the Muslim world, died in the attack, and her 2-year-old daughter also died from injuries in hospital 2 days after the attack. This is how the attack resulted.
And everyone just keep in mind that if you have any problem with being slaughtered, then you're a racist, Islamophobic, hate-mongering bigot. Cross Defender says, David Wood for president in 2028. The irony here is that convicted felons, actually, there's nothing that says convicted felons can't run for president. There's all sorts of other things convicted felons can't do. Being president is not among them. You can actually run for, you could be a repeat offender and have multiple felonies and still run for president. So this is a live option, ladies and gentlemen. I can take over and run this place.
So just think about this. The thing about the irony or the absurdity of the situation right now in Europe, that the situation has gotten so weird that a Muslim terrorist goes and carries out an Islamic terrorist attack in the name of Allah against the kuffar, as instructed by ISIS and other terrorist organizations, and in this terrorist attack kills 2 people who are presumably Muslims. This is how absurd the situation has become in Europe.
It's pretty messed up. Pretty messed up. All right, back to Mr. Vance here.
Here with me today on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. And we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now,
wait, hold on. He said he's praying for them and they clapped. Aren't these the people that like throw you in freaking jail if you pray? Bunch of lunatics. Anyway.
Yes.
Hypocrites. If he just said I'm praying for mothers out there who are considering aborting their babies or something like this, they would lock him up.
To be fair,
throw him in jail. What?
To be fair, they would throw you in jail in the UK.
That's true.
Which is like Europe in general is not as far gone as the UK. The UK is just kind of completely messed up by now.
Yeah, UK is more screwed up.
Yeah.
It didn't used to seem more screwed up than like France and stuff, but now it does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but
I've seen this. It basically is. There are other times when like 5 people are clapping and stuff like this, but people, there are a bunch of people that are clearly enraged at everything he says. It's funny.
we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security. And normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America.
Extremely important. Like most important thing that he could have possibly said. The threat here is not from without. The threat is from within. And if you're thinking, oh, but jihad is an external... No, European nations could not be conquered by jihadis unless European nations did it on purpose. So the threat is from within. European nations are under no risk of being conquered by Islam or jihad unless they're basically begging for it, which means it's an internal problem.
Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany, too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy.
I like where he's going with this. Guys, the reason we've been united is our shared values. So what happened? You know what? You can see where he's going with this, right? Guys, the reason we're on the same side is supposedly because of our shared values. What happens because I'm looking at the way you guys are now and it doesn't look like we share values. What values do we share anymore? When you declare war on your own people and you're blasting away at people for praying, arresting people for praying, you're coming at people for insults. In Germany, you like insult someone online and stuff like that, and they're coming to lock you up. What shared values do we have now? Why are we on the same side? And of course, that's one big warning. Guys, you're really making it seem like we're not on the same side anymore. And like we're going to be your enemies because you guys are acting like a bunch of freaking communists here. Very intimidating, very intimidating. Let's intimidate them some more, J.D. Vance. Humiliate them.
But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not.
Pause.
This guy says good stuff, man.
There's a phrase that was used more and more and more. It is, I guess, it is falling out of favor increasingly since the end of the Cold War, which is leader of the free world or free world. Where there was always this understanding that America is kind of the leader of the free world, the Western world is the free world, as opposed to the other unfree world. The free world had freedoms, individual freedoms, where people can do whatever they want, where people can vote, elect whatever they want, say whatever they want, voice their criticism, and so on. This is supposed to be a quality of the Western world. He reminds everyone very, very, very clearly that those who were against freedom were the ones who would crack down on people's speech, on people's right to choose, on people's right to vote for whomever they want, say whatever they want, go wherever they want, and so on. Such restrictions were in place in the Soviet Union under communists and their other communist puppets. We're supposed to have freedoms. We're supposed to have Western freedoms. Right now, Western nations are inviting masses of people from other places in, this time not from communist places, but from other places, such as Islamic places. And therefore, for their sake, giving up this essential thing that made them different from the unfree ones, freedom. They're giving up free speech. They're censoring people. I think he's going to bring up something that is very familiar to us in a little bit.
That's your prediction?
Yes.
Let's see.
And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content.
So Brussels, they're going to shut down social media when they see hateful content, hateful conduct.
Content.
Always creepy. Like, guys, even if you believe in banning hateful content for some reason, it's especially creepy when the government decides to do it, because what do governments do? They just, anything that is against them, they toss in the hateful content category. And then they ban what? They ban anyone who criticizes them in any way. Pretty creepy.
Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
There we go.
You imagine your friend gets murdered?
Yeah. He just referenced Salwan Momika. He didn't mention him by name, but this is what he just referenced. So what he just referenced here is Salwan Momika, whom many might know, who was increasingly popular, especially on Twitter and TikTok, who several weeks ago was brutally murdered. It is kind of messed up to me how, I don't know if it's just me, I have been just traveling and very sick lately, couldn't pay much attention, but it seems like lots of people have kind of forgotten it. I don't see many people talk about Salwan Momika right now, but he was murdered. He was murdered for burning Qurans to make the point that it is not okay to kill people over a book. He was murdered. People came out in his defense. The majority of Muslims who reacted to his murder celebrated or justified his murder. I have said it again and again and again. To this day, I have only seen one single Muslim respond to it with disgust and with rejection and condemnation. And others who stood up for him actually got in trouble with the law in England and in Sweden. Others who stood up for him and also in solidarity burned Qurans were arrested. It's good that he references Salwan Momika, who is a hero, and I would urge everyone to post about him and to not forget him. And I ordered a bunch of Qurans. I ordered a bunch of Qurans.
Gonna
I'm
read those Qurans? Gonna read all those
planning
Qurans?
planning on reading them with fire to remember someone.
Reading with fire is the best way to read a Quran. Because, you know, it's like having a candle, but in the actual book. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Take a couple super chats. You want a workout? Carry the golf bags and hike it. Lol. Why? Could actually just go to the gym. Pray for Tommy Robinson. Yeah, they're trying to break Tommy Robinson. I don't golf either. I just thought it would be fun. Oh, it might be fun for some people. It's not people with super high testosterone duffels. D Wood versus Robert in a nutshell. The closet where grandma's clothes are stinks. Is there an actual skeleton in there with them, or do they stink on their own? That's pretty much what it's like. Next debate, Con, you need to run it back with Jay Smith on the same topic. The comment section in your first debate states that you were humiliated, decimated, and intellectually decapitated. Lol. Yeah, I can always...
Intellectually molested.
There's enough different directions and enough material on this topic to basically dial it up every time we have this debate. So every time we have this debate on whether Muhammad existed, I can dial it up with new stuff, which makes it fun. Europeans, please bring back common sense too. It would be nice, but they don't seem to be heading in that direction. Loved both of your debates. You burly, handsome boys, you. This is Mandace Growens. But Robert made some excellent points as well. I'm not sure what to think now. No, he made no excellent points. Thank you for doing what you do. Bad eschatology starts wars, and so does Islam. People need to speak up about it. Preterism seems to be the worst, seems to be the most logical way to look at end times. God bless.
What does it have to do with anything?
I don't know. Muslim debaters sound too long. Can we just call them Muz debaters?
What about...
What?
Must
We got it. We get it. Must debaters. We get it.
Okay. Nice.
Hey, look at this. David, AP, why are Muslims afraid of Chris Hansen? He keeps putting them on his show. Shout out to JD Vance for winning the 2028 election.
Nice.
Yeah, he might. JD is right. Europe sucks. It needs jihad ASAP.
I think that as much as I have respect for JD Vance, I think that after Donald Trump, first off, what should happen next is that we should abolish term limits. So Donald Trump should be president again as long as it goes, as long as he's alive. Once he is dead, one of his sons should be elected to be the next president.
Yep.
When that one is dead, one of his sons.
I like that young. I like that young one who's like seems psycho. If
he doesn't have sons, then one of his brothers should be. So it should stay within the Trump family.
These are all valid points. There needs to be a Trump dynasty, an entire Trump dynasty of leaders. What's that kid's name? Is Barron? Is it Barron? Is that a name?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that kid. Yeah, he'd be awesome.
Although I think if Ivanka is a little bit based, maybe we could just have a very quick, first female president thing.
A situation where you make the kid the ruler, but he still, you need he still needs his mom involved because he's still too young to make the best choices. Hi guys, Vance gives me hope, but conversations with UK people, many jump to defense of Muslims over jihad, say love thy neighbor, Gandhi, etc. Help. Yep. Yeah, you got some problems. You got some problems there. Check my post on AP's YouTube community. Elites cry. Oh, is that stuff them crying over this speech? If so, it's kind of pathetic. It's very obvious that ants are controlling JD and everyone in the government. Just can't figure out how. Can David help me understand? No. We do not know. But ants rule the world. Here's JD Vance.
And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little
Wait.
over
Religious Britons. You need to be more clear, JD. Christian Britons. If you're a Muslim religious Briton, you've got the entire government backing you in whatever you do, no matter how sick and twisted and evil it is.
2 years ago, the British
Did you
government...
see on the screen just there? I think there was one of the Klitschko's on screen.
Oh yeah, no, I do recall seeing, yeah, right there.
Yeah, there, yeah.
Yep. So with the Ukrainian delegation, we have Klitschko.
Perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no,
Yes,
this last October, just a few months ago,
Well,
he speaks like an American. When he speaks to the British people, he can't speak like this. The British will just look at this and they will see, I do not accept this criticism from the American peasantry. That's what they will think. So
that's what you got to throw stuff in their faces. You got to be like, and I know you're not going to listen to me because I'm an American, but I'll just remind you that if it weren't for us, you'd all be speaking German. And even if you somehow defeated the Germans, you'd be the smallest freaking province in the Russian Empire. So pay attention to what we're saying, or we'll stop protecting you. You'll be eaten alive. Here to help you. Bunch of idiots. That's how you should roll.
the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally,
Private prayer in their own homes. You might be breaking the law unless you pray the way we say.
the government urged readers to
And the way we say is you must bow down and say,
I have to
oh,
say-
great God, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. What?
I have to say, compared to the last two vice presidents, this one is really impressive.
Whoa. You think this is more impressive than Kamala? Come on. Yeah, he does. He does seem cooler than Kamala. And then what's that guy? What's that guy with Trump's first term? I don't even remember his name.
That thing that's Mike Pence.
Yeah, Mike Pence. Vance,
such a-
Pence have a similar
Just
sound.
thinking of the guy makes me want to go to sleep.
Not this guy. This guy's like a supercharged V8 engine that became a person.
report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth.
trying to think what his point was. Like, was he just randomly calling out the previous administration, or is he saying, "Hey, we've made our mistakes too, and we just made this one, and we learned from it and moved on and corrected it, and you guys need to learn from your mistakes and correct them and move on." But yes, guys, you had the Biden administration. Well, even before, like leading up to the election and so on, but then after the election and so on, telling companies like Facebook and Twitter and so on what they need to ban.
So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight.
There's a new sheriff in town, and make no mistake about it, he will shoot you. He will shoot you. He is the sheriff. He has a gun. Do not mess with him. It's pretty basic.
Administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Oh, how dare you!
See that? See, this is what I mean. There's like 10 or a dozen people clapping for stuff like that, and everyone else is like clearly enraged that he's even saying that free speech is important and the government shouldn't be cracking down on it.
Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
It is pretty rough if because you do have governments who are interfering in elections and so on. But it basically you can use that to overrule any election if you want, right? Because foreign accounts are always going to have said something on it, even if it's like on Twitter and so on. So anytime you have an election, you don't like the outcome, you just say, oh, no, there was election interference. These guys posted stuff on Twitter, so we have to cancel this election until we get the result that we actually want. And then we'll say it's all good. It's kind of messed up. Actually. It makes great sense. 4 people clapping again.
Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election.
That is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Just looks like people have become obsessed with no one disagreeing with them and no one who opposes them winning any sort of election and using any means at their disposal to stop people from disagreeing with them or being able to say that they disagree with them or winning an election against them. And they're turning to other methods, which is exactly what the freaking commies did. Commies.
Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target. And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent. We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger. But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we're defending in the first place?
Dang. Did you guys catch that? Did you guys catch that? This is a brilliant speech. This is a brilliant speech, guys. Earlier, is talking about, hey, the reason we've been on the same side and considered ourselves on the same side was shared values. But the direction you guys are heading does not look like shared values. It doesn't look like we share these values anymore. You look like you're against these values. You look like you have the values of the people that we spent decades standing against. And then here, it's what exactly are we defending? Like, hey, if we're this is because, guys, this is a security conference. Security conference. A bunch of European nations and the U.S. saying, hey, we need to focus on security and defending ourselves against threats and so on. And it's like, what are we even defending? What are we defending here? Like, are we defending totalitarianism, fascism? What are we actually defending? Because I thought we were defending our shared values, and that's why we're taking a stand on this stuff. But it doesn't look like you guys even believe that stuff anymore. So could you please tell me, do we have any clue what we're defending? And guys, if you're not clear on what you're defending, you end up with situations like they have in Great Britain, where now 11% of people in the 18 to 30 range or whatever say 11% say that they would actually fight for their country if they had to. 11%. They have no clue. What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? You look around, he's like, I don't want to defend this place.
I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important?
G.K. Chesterton said, the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. Right. The best kind of soldier is someone who's not fighting because, hey, I hate this thing in front of me, I'm going to shoot it. It's, I love what I'm defending so much that I'm willing to fight for it. And you have this problem in Europe right now. People don't know what the heck they're defending. They're looking around. They've been taught to hate their own nations, like even without all the problems, just hate themselves. And you're creating nations where people don't know what they're defending and have no desire to defend it. And here they are having these big meetings on security. It's like, defending what? You guys are going to go fight against threats so that you can continue oppressing your own people and locking people up for saying something wrong that you disagree with or insulting someone? It's insane.
I agree in principle, but it's AP Chesterton, not GK.
AP Chesterton. That is funny.
Believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people. Europe faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump.
Dang. If you're oppressing your own people, Nothing you can do for us and nothing we can do for you. In other words, guys, did you catch it? Again, this is brilliant. He's not saying it as meanly as he could, but think. We were on the same page because we shared values. It doesn't look like you guys even share those values anymore. And so if that's the direction you're heading, and we're sitting here at our security conference figuring out what agreements we can come to support and defend each other. If you guys are not fixing this stuff and you guys are heading this direction, there's nothing we can do for you. We have no interest in defending you while you oppress your own people. Not interested. We have no interest in defending you from Russia or Islam or anything else. We have no desire to defend you when you're locking your own people up for praying. We're not interested. We're not interested. And just to be clear, this would be a complete severing, because what can you do for us? How can you help us? There's nothing we want to do to help you. And what can you do to help us if this is the direction you're going? You're something else now. You're becoming something else that we do not want to defend, and we don't want anything to do with you. That's pretty beastly.
It does sound like he's really humiliating them, though. Like it's like kind of, he is being very, very, very patronizing and humiliating them, and maybe they deserve it. Maybe that's just what they need. That's just what they need, because you stand here in America and you look at Europe and you hear Western worlds and Western values, but now in 2025, you're in America, you look at Europe, and if you are still very, very loyal to your values, when you look at Europe, you think they're not like us, So that's that. They're not like us.
I do like the implication here.
That's fine.
I do like the implication. If you guys, the implication, guys, without saying it, he's hinting at it. If you guys are we're not gonna keep protecting you if this is what you're doing. We're not going to protect you from threats. You take an organization like NATO, where if you attack one nation, you're attacking all those nations. No one really cares about most of those nations in terms of their militaries and so on. What you're really saying is if you mess with NATO, you're messing with the United States, and the United States is protecting its allies. That's what it means. If you get to a point where you're saying, hey, we have no interest in defending you, you guys got some rough times ahead, and you freaking deserve it if that's how you're acting. You deserve it.
You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable results?
But said Mandates Owens. He thought, I have proof. I now have the documentation that proves that Mandates became Candace after having a surgery.
If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump. You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable results? But there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens. If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're going to enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains, then you need mandates to govern, because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail, whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news. Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration.
What?
Today, almost...
What? He just called him out. He called him out for what they're doing. Mass migration, bringing in tons of people to outnumber your own people. 1
in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone. And of course, it's gotten much higher since.
Doubled in 1
year. And we
year.
know the situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city.
What did you say?
You keep saying how we think the same thing. Yes, we both thought whores. We both thought it. Yes, we did.
What did you just say?
I was waiting to see if you had some sort of reaction, and then I saw your lip quivering like you were about to laugh. He said horrors. Horrors. He's not talking about whores. What's wrong with you?
I paused for a second because I'm trying to make sense of what he just said, but that it didn't make sense.
The horrors. Horrors. Two syllables. Horrors.
I see.
Okay. This situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again.
I saw many whores. Dude, you know what I mean? He's talking about a terrorist attack. When he says the horrors, it's a terrorist attack. And all you're thinking is, what is he talking about prostitutes for? Come on, clean up your mind.
This is the thing with English, with Americans. It's not my fault. It's the fault of Americans. It's because of how Americans speak. It's not my fault. It's never my fault. It's your fault. You have to fix the way you speak.
You should learn English. And that way you won't have these problems.
Okay.
The world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. Yep. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community. How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction?
Good point.
No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants.
Wow. You catch that? No voter. When they were putting you, he's talking to leaders, ladies and gentlemen. He's talking to leaders. He's talking to politicians, saying no one who put you in power was saying, hey, you know what we need? We need tons of Pakistanis and Afghanis terrorizing us and banging our daughters. That's what we need. No one said that. No one put you in power for that.
But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me.
I get it. I get it. I didn't listen to the speech. I didn't have the time to sit down and ever actually listen to the speech. I only saw bits and pieces of it here and there posted. But I saw German media, European media complain and cry about it and screech about it. I saw the German leftist and mainstream elite media go crazy about it, about how this is an interference and affront to Europeans and so on, while the people were mostly just with it and thought, oh, good stuff here. I saw the AfD celebrate the heck out of it and say, yes,
you see.
And I see it now, because this kind of stuff, the speech that he's giving right now here, this is unacceptable by the standards of the elitist parties that have established themselves among Europeans, over European countries. The situation in Europe with politics is really, really weird. Like, it's probably hard to understand from an American perspective, but you have a multi-party system that is essentially a good thing in almost every country. But
Yeah. So sometimes I think it's better. It's a better system than the two-party system. Well, I mean, keep in mind, there's nothing in the U.S. that says there has to be this two-party system and stuff. It just turns out like that because whenever you end up with a third party, that third party is closer to one of the other parties, and they split the vote, and then your opposition wins. And so
yeah.
you just end up with a two-party system and so on. But yeah, not like European
But
parliament.
what happens is that that certain parts, that certain parties that align more with the elitist and leftist mindset have made it a tendency to, within countries, within national parliaments, form major coalitions in order to drown out the populist or patriotic or right wing or just centrist or libertarian aspects, and to then try to take over governments. And then you add the European Parliament to it. The European Parliament, of course, came into existence, which started regulating, independent national parliaments around Europe. So the European Parliament is basically the epitome of elitism in Europe, and is dictating all kinds of garbage that people in Europe don't even want and believe in. And this elitist system has began dictating after a point what people basically can and cannot say, what people can and cannot hear. This is what people mean when they say that Europe has turned, or the European Union has turned into this socialist network of making decisions for the people whether they like it or not, and so on. But this whole speech here, this is how more than half of Europeans think. This is how more than half of Germans think, according to polls taken over the last 2 decades. But you can't go out and make speeches like this without being labeled a Nazi, without being labeled a fascist, a racist, and whatever it is. The media and the elitist, leftist parties in question will attack you and punish you for it. This guy comes here and gives directly this speech and says what more than half of the population in these countries think. And for this he is blasted, but he's right. Enough with the stupid, with the idiocy of mass immigration. Enough with the suicide of Europe.
And I have to say, because I already listened to this when people recommended it, and then I was like, oh, let me go and check this out. This is significantly more brutal than I was aware of when I first listened to it. Like, I thought he was, hey guys, I have some, I wanted to point out some problems with some stuff you're doing. And now listening to it more closely, this is a big threat. This is one big threat, right? This is, we are not going to keep aligning with you, and we are not going to keep defending you. And we will pull out. We will pull out of groups like NATO and so on, because we're not interested in defending this if you guys keep this course. So you either fix your stuff or count us out. And that is very, very interesting.
Let me give you an example. So I just went to Germany with
how many times are you going to brag about it?
With a friend who is the former Canadian ambassador to Israel, Vivian Berkovici. We just went to Israel together, traveled there, met with some really, really nice and really important people, politicians from the AfD and others, and looked into the politics and the current situation and how it's going. And here is basically what's happening in Germany right now in politics. The AfD, which is the Alternative for Germany, which is the a big major umbrella party of centrists, slight leftists, but mostly center right and right wing people. They are currently rising in polls. They are crushing it. They are above 20%. Then there is the CDU, which is the conservative Christian party that, however, really very much betrayed Germany and caused all the mess that we are in with the whole mass migration, which is why people got so disillusioned with them and started voting for alternatives. These together, if they combine their voter base and their power, could take over basically Germany and turn things around if they went with what German people want. However, in the parliament, in the German parliament, the AfD itself cannot take matters into their own hand. They have to collaborate with some other party in order to establish a proper government, in order to have the sufficient numbers for a government. So the only close party that they can think of collaborating with would be this Christian Democratic Union Party, this supposed Christian Conservative Party. They could technically get together with them and form a stable government in order to go into a corrective, proper direction. However, within this party, which Merkel was also the leader of, there are basically two major factions. One is the very conservative side, and one is the Merkel side. And the Merkel side happens to be one that is that has very much betrayed Europe and betrayed Germany, even when so much of this Christian conservative party wants to actually sit down and think of collaborating with the center and the right and make things right and think about deporting people. The Merkel faction and other factions within the conservatives pressure them into not working with the AfD. And then there are other factions inside the German parliament that also pressure each other to basically build what they call a firewall around this AfD party. So what they do thereby is, despite the fact that most of the German population now wants a reversion of the mass immigration policies, there are elements within the media and within politics that block out these efforts for fixing Germany and thereby make it impossible to fix Germany and keep leading it into the direction that it has been going so far, which is a horrible direction, a direction of self-destruction, a direction of suicide, of European suicide. They don't want to listen to Europeans. If you do listen to Europeans, you are labeled a fascist, a racist, a Nazi, and those established old parties make sure that it stays this way. Now here comes J.D. Vance and gives a speech that everybody needs to hear, but that they cannot hear, that they are usually not allowed to hear in Europe. He just stands there and humiliatingly forces everyone to listen to it. This is balls, and it's good.
I think there needs to be, because again, this is brilliant stuff. When he's talking about shared values and so on, at least a shared value of loving your country and want to see it survive and flourish and could not be dominated by jihadis. At least that fundamental value. I think there needs to be a new organization based around that idea. In other words, it's like, hey, the United States, Poland, Israel, nations that actually like their nations and don't want to hand them over to a bunch of lunatics. We'll all stick together and defend each other. And all you guys who are hell bent on destroying your own populations and oppressing your own populations, you know what? Form your own group. We're not defending you anymore.
Based.
That does seem like where he's going with all this. Dizzle likes it. Dizzle like it. Gabe says, "Hey guys, you guys did great at DebateCon." Hey, that was actually cool. Because
hey, we saw Gabe there. Gabe was there. It was good to see you, Gabe.
Look! Now he's got a picture where he's with this dork, inspiring philosophy. But you pointed out that was your first in-person debate and so on. But it's also cool because we did 2 of the 4 religious debates. D. Wood and AP, and then of course you had inspiring philosophy and Andrew Wilson and so on. But pretty cool. We got all the Dawa guys on the run. And we're showing up, and they're not. Bunch of cowards. These are good times, man. Sarah says, all the Aisha scraping hadith. No, it's not just scraping. It's scratching, it's rubbing, it's washing. It's like Aisha tried everything she could to get all the semen off Muhammad's clothes. All the Aisha, after his Muhammad Diddy parties. The Muhammad Diddy parties. Always left him covered. All the Aisha scraping hadith have him praying in the end. Can it be then that the hadith is actually about his dedication to prayer, even semen soaked? No, it's not really about his dedication to prayer. The point was they're obsessed with following Muhammad's example. So the actual point is that, yes, Following the example of Muhammad, it's perfectly acceptable to scratch the semen off your clothes and then wear that garment to the mosque. In other words, no, you do not have to go through any special ceremonial anything to cleanse yourself or change garments or anything. It's all fine.
Cleanse yourself.
So they're recording this stuff for examples for themselves. What are they supposed to do in these various situations? More early streaming. What's this amazing insanity? Yeah, we should come up with some official time where we make sure we do something early every time. Like one time, this a couple weeks ago, I went live with Tim Dieppe of Christian Concern, but it was like 7 a.m. There were still like 1,700 people watching live. So there are people in various parts of the world who will watch at different times.
With who did you go live, you said?
Tim Dieppe. He's with Christian Concern. Those are the guys who like when Hatun got locked up. Those are the guys who like did her legal work and sued the government and stuff like this. And made them back down and apologize and pay and stuff like that. So they're a pretty cool organization. And they actually call out Islam. What's up?
Why does he have a fake name though?
Tim Dieppe? No, it's not. Look. This book right here. The Challenge of Islam just came out.
Oh.
Tim Dieppe.
Nice.
That dude.
Nice.
Yep. Anyway, point was I went live at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. and people were watching. So different times do work. Melania could serve as queen regent until Baron comes of age. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Vance called Mehdi Hassan a dummy. Yeah, I saw that on X and totally murked him on X. It was glorious. That is funny. Yeah, you had that. What the heck is up with Mehdi, man? He lost it and he said, make American planes crash again or something like this. It was messed up. And then he took it down. He's like, okay, people didn't get my funny joke. Dude, crashing planes and so on, and especially you, crashing planes into buildings and so on, not something funny to joke about, man. Dude's becoming unhinged.
Yeah. He made a joke about how so many planes are crashing now.
It's always funny stuff.
Make American planes. Oh, wait. What a fantastic joke. What a fantastic joke.
Good one.
Coming from
you should go on tour with that one, buddy. You see that? He's going to be like the Muslim Eddie Murphy with his great comedy routine. Lots of people dying in plane crashes.
Hey, come on. Look at my new joke. My new joke is the best joke I've ever heard.
The best joke.
Hey, what about planes crashing?
Hey, and some old lady fell down in her house and died. What a dork, man. What a loser. How come I never hear about the Syriac Bible being the Bible the Christian church used during the time and areas Muhammad would have traveled through? Actually, it's very common. Not just the Syriac Bible, but lots of the sources and stories Muhammad is using and drawing from are Syriac in nature. AP, what do you think of AfD leader secretly meeting with a Chinese ambassador in his private residency in light of their private spy scandal in EP?
That's a good question.
Not familiar with this?
Wasn't that like ages ago? And it was actually the assistant or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea. Don't care about this terribly. Freedom of speech truly exists only in the USA. Our Bill of Rights are inalienable rights given to us by God, not government, so those rights can't be taken.
Pause.
Well, we've seen some people messing with it a bit, but yes, we have the ability to correct course and call out people when they're doing that. You Yanks might be the last country to have free speech. I'm a bit jealous. God bless you, men. Loved your debates. Sorry, UK banned you, David. It happens.
I gotta say, it is actually one thing that needs to be pointed out, which is that that the U.S. has been consistently the only country that has had really like full free speech. European countries never really had complete free speech.
Yeah, they went in a better direction than from what they used to be centuries ago, but still they never really had it in all its splendor and glory.
Yeah, they never had this whole thing like you can say whatever you want unless you don't directly hurt or threaten somebody or whatever. European nations never really had it that way. They always had some, to an extension, blasphemy laws or disrespect or things like that.
Switzer Sniper says, AP, hold on much close to the books in the dark when each one goes up to say, oopsies, there goes another one. You know what this is about? Why do you find that funny?
I don't know. It just sounds funny.
V for Vendetta showed that a tyrannical UK would persecute LGBTQ and Muslims and showed the church in a bad light. I now think it was a foreshadowing of the demonic Islamo-leftist alliance that was soon to manifest. Yes, that is the impression I got there too. It's the church. The church is all about the church is all a bunch of secret pedophiles and evil, and the Quran is great and the beautiful book, and that's what the evil forces are there to oppress. They're there to oppress Muslims and gay people.
It's funny. I actually there was a time where I watched that movie and I thought it had some great artistic aspect to it. Then later, many years later, I watched it again and I thought, this is such garbage, man.
Yep, it's pretty terrible. I thought it was yeah, like I thought there were good parts of it and stuff like this, but other than that, I was like, these guys are messed up, man. Thank God the Dems cheated in the 2020. Vance 2028.
Nah, didn't really happen, but yeah.
No, hey, I have to. A lot of people are wondering about the Democratic Party now, like the way they're acting. They're flipping out and they're doubling down on whining about everyone and calling everyone racist and stuff like that. And it's like, you guys know you have more elections in 2 years, right? You have more elections in just 2 years. You guys are melting down. You guys are in full meltdown mode. I'm praying we get a Christian leadership in the UK. A God-fearing government would fix us. Please pray too. I know God will save England again. We would like to see that. But that does not change the message that if you guys do not correct course, we're not going to protect you anymore. The horrors are running rampant. The horrors are running rampant through the... The horrors are running rampant through the streets. Assassin's Creed games are also anti-Christian, pro-jihadi propaganda made by leftists. Ubisoft, nothing is true. Everything is permitted in pagan philosophy. Sounds about right.
To an extent, yes. Yes.
As the resident Germo-Turk, can AP explain why Europistaner Aero-Cook elites seething silently as an Americhad intellectually molest them is so funny?
I already did that just
a
few minutes ago.
Yeah, he already did that. 2023 FBI memo revealed it was monitor and targeting Catholics in the U.S. for potential extremism or even terrorism because they were Latin mass goers, while FBI sourced info from the Southern Poverty Law Center who see conservatives as the same extremists. Your thoughts? Yet you have all kinds of idiots. Huh?
I don't really know about this. Don't know to what extent, what part of it is true, but Catholics are dangerous, man. Like if you see somebody with a rosary, I mean,
bad news.
Next thing you know,
bad
gonna blow up.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. You see it. It's rosaries are actually detonators.
Yeah, look at this.
You see that? Just glad I'm not in the room there. Glad this is why we do stuff online. United Soviet States of Euro is the new USSR. Yep. Think if J.D. Vance did this in Ali Dawa's voice. That would be funny. I need to get an Ali Dawa puppet, and then every time there's something cool that comes out, like this J.D. Vance speech or something like that, do the entire thing in Ali Dawa's voice, and then have a puppet on screen. I think the UN should be abolished, but what are your thoughts on NATO? I'm not anti-NATO, but I obviously agree that Europe needs to get a brain. Yeah, we kind of talked about this, but yeah, the point of NATO was, hey, we have a bunch of nations that the Soviet Union would like to get, and so we're forming an alliance to let the Soviet Union know you can't take any of these nations because then you would be at war with the United States. So that actually protected these nations. That was the purpose. That was the real purpose of NATO. Well, now you don't have this. Now you don't have this Now you don't have this threat of the Soviet Union. You still got things like Russia and so on. But looks like U.S. leaders are saying, why are we defending these guys when they're taking on the very characteristics of the things that we united to be against? We formed an alliance to be against this stuff. And now all these guys are becoming exactly like what we agreed that we were going to fight against. Why are we going to continue defending it? Why? Why would we do that? So
I must say that I'm still essentially a fan of the fundamental foundational idea of NATO or NATO, as some mistakenly call it, and I would say that it is still a useful and good alliance. And when things get, if things got suddenly really bad for Europe, it would once again be, or for the West in general, it would be good for the West to unite and do something together. Also, it was actually the United States that is the only party that ever enacted the clause of NATO to to invoke other NATO members to come in to defend and participate in military actions that happened after September 11, where the U.S. actually invoked the article. What was it? Article 5 or something? I don't know, 4, where other member nations had to come in and assist the United States in their war. It is essentially still a good thing. I just have two problems with it. One is, why in the world is Turkey part of NATO?
that's a huge problem. Yeah, Turkey's got to go.
And number two is, Europe is really getting kind of weird. Yeah.
Let's see. I've been offline, so my apologies if you've already covered this topic. However, what are your opinions on President Trump's Gaza proposal? I mainly think he's bluffing to try and do something else. He has a habit of proposing something that is going to make people flip out, and then using that situation to negotiate to a different situation there. But it's a situation where I kind of wouldn't rule anything out as far as fixing that situation. The situation is so freaking disastrous. You have all these lunatics raising kids from the time they're infants to be nothing but terrorists. Drastic measures to fix that. I would not be opposed to drastic measures to fix that.
What was the question just now?
What? It's about it's your thoughts on Trump's Gaza proposal.
Oh yeah, I think it's good, and well, before this live stream, I was really mad, and I was thinking, I don't know if I want to go live and talk about this, but today there are news that Israel said people should not share widely until Israel itself officially confirms it, but Hamas has publicly said once again that they are going to deliver 6 dead bodies of hostages this weekend. And among those dead bodies, as they say, are the Bibas family, which includes the baby that was taken hostage when he was only 9 months old, and his older sister, a little child, and their mother. So they took them hostage. And by the way, just to point out one thing, it wasn't Hamas that took them hostage. It was so-called Palestinian civilians who actually came in and took them hostage back into Gaza. They kept them as hostages. According to what they're saying right now, all 3 of them are dead, and their bodies are supposed to be handed over. Now, here is the thing: what kind of human being actually goes in and deliberately takes a baby as a hostage? What kind of animal What kind of monster, what kind of being takes babies and children as hostages for negotiations? As said, it's still Israel officially still says it's not confirmed, and we don't want to spread, psychological warfare propaganda and so on. In my opinion, it's just we will see. It will probably come out to be true, and they might be dead. And this happened all under the watch and with the approval of the majority of those people in Gaza who are supposedly innocent. In my opinion, what Trump suggested there is not even remotely enough. I think these people have long overstayed their right to live in that place and should go and live somewhere else.
I still vote for an island in Indonesia. Make things nice, stick them there, and keep them there. So sad. Germany terrified of another dictatorship, and yet. D-Wood and AP, I'm not doing well. Was hoping you guys can say a prayer for me. Wish you both well. Paolo. Okay. We'll keep that in mind, Paolo.
Wish you all the best.
Are you guys going to reach out to Alex to have a follow-up conversation debate? I can't imagine he's going to avoid his conflict with Islam. Even his fans seem to be calling him out now. Here's the difficult part, based autistic, because when Alex backed out of the debate, everyone's like, "Oh, no problem, just have the debate online." It's like, what? Why would I think that he'd go through with that and not back out from that? The moment anyone in the Dawa community says, "Alex, don't do that," or we're gonna issue a threat. That's the point. If you agree to a debate or something like that, at the very least, you're going to prepare like an opening statement or something like that. Like you're talking about a guy I have zero confidence would honor an agreement. The moment someone said, "Alex, don't do that," or else, he would back out. It wouldn't matter. It could be 5 minutes before the debate starts. "Alex, don't do this debate or we're going to threaten you," and he would back out. It's kind of seriously hard to set up an agreement with like that. Unless he just gets to a point where he says, "You know what? I'm sick of backing down and running and stuff like that." So I guarantee I'm going to go through with this next debate. That's a different situation. But right now, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not even thinking about, oh, when can I do this with Alex? It's like I can't even imagine setting something up with him right now if he's the sort of person who backs out that quickly and easily. D-Wood, just get a puppet of Elmo and put a crappy beard and turban on it and call it the Ali Dawa Elmo. AD voice, can Elmo sell his 9-year-old daughter? Yeah, that would work. That might actually work. Make a show called Quran in a Year, but instead of explaining Quran, you just eat 2 pages of it during each episode. That would be good. AP, literally everyone in the U.S. pronounces it NATO, and since we fund most of it, we're the only ones that matter. That is a good point. You're like, "Oh, I can call it NATO because that's how we say it in Germany." Yeah, Germany matters. We're very relevant. No, we all say NATO, and we'll say whatever we want because we're the ones who fund it.
That's a good joke, but you don't actually fund most of it. So
we do. We basically own that place. This speech sounds like an intervention with an alcoholic to get him to stop drinking. If you're not interested in defending yourself, why should anyone else? Yeah, again, guys, when I first heard it, I was thinking of the warning about, hey, you guys are heading in a different, or the wrong direction. When I listened to it again as live here, this was a big threat. This was a big threat. We are not going to work with you guys anymore or protect you. Off topic, but I would pay good jizya for you guys to do a live stream responding to Christspiracy while you both eat massive amounts of steak.
What spiracy?
I don't know, but I wonder what it has to do with steak. I like eating massive amounts of steak. So I'd be happy to do that. But I'm wondering if Christspiracy is something. What is that? Like a vegan thing or something like that?
The heck is Christspiracy?
There is no reason not to glass the entire Middle East as well as rounding up all Muslims in the West. Yeah, there is that. That would be mean. There is no reason. No, you said it again. It'd be very mean and Islamophobic. If Western Europe's trajectory continues for the next 8 years, I'm going to be rooting for the asteroid. Yeah, Western Europe is starting to suck. We always felt more comfortable with Western European nations than Eastern European nations, and now that's changing to where Eastern European nations are the sane ones and Western European nations are a bunch of complete lunatics. At least that's who's running them. All right, let's let.
If Americans actually walked through Eastern Europe, they would quickly change their minds.
No, it's super awesome and based. I would go to Poland and it would be the nicest place in the world, AP. So stop talking trash about our
Eastern
friends.
Europe.
What?
That's Western. Poland is basically Western Europe.
Poland is Eastern Europe. Look up countries in Eastern Europe. Poland will be on the list. I will look it up right now. Oh,
it's like barely Eastern.
Because you're from Turkey, so you think it. See, you don't even know directions and stuff. Eastern European nations. You're going to tell me Poland. You're going to tell me Poland is Western European. Which countries make up Eastern? Which countries make up Eastern Europe? Hungary, Moldova, Poland. Oh, I guess I shouldn't believe this. I should just believe AP because, I'm from Turkey. I know. Come on. Bulgaria, Albania, Belarus, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Romania. Oh, no, Romania is basically the UK in my mind. No one cares.
Oh, Romania is extremely Eastern. That's very, very Eastern. That's as Eastern as it gets, actually.
All right, back to JD here.
I think that people care about their homes. They care about their dreams. They care about their safety and their capacity to provide for themselves and their children. And they're smart. I think this is one of the most important things I've learned in my brief time in politics. Contrary to what you might hear a couple mountains over in Davos, the citizens of all of our nations don't generally think of themselves as educated animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy. And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders.
What'd you say?
May I quickly point something out?
What?
Now, there are some individuals in the chat. There's like one individual in the chat who repeats a talking point also insultingly to others in the chat and also to me in response to the point, which is that to the assertion that that the U.S. is the greatest funder or the largest funder of NATO. There is a big misunderstanding here. He said here, for example, the United States is the largest funder of NATO, contributing about 2/3 of the alliance's defense.
We own it.
This is actually a big misunderstanding of what's happening. The United States funds like I don't know 18% of NATO's functions or something like that. It has when it comes to there is a statistic which is kind of for me right now with the sick mind that I have right now because I'm sick. They're a little bit difficult to explain. But the 60% or the 2/3 actually refers to a comparison of defense spendings of NATO member countries. Because the United States is a huge country that has huge defense spendings, meaning defense budgets, defense of its own defense, spendings of its own defense. It means in comparison to others, the United States has a very, very large defense budget. If you put the defense budgets of all NATO member countries on a scale, as in terms of percentage, the United States would make up about 60% or so of the defense budgets. That doesn't mean that the United States provides 60% of funds. It just means that the United States spends a lot of money on its own defense system. That's what it is. So the United States doesn't fund most of NATO. That's not true.
Well, everything AP just said is completely stupid, but I'm just going to roll with it. Hey, if you're saying we don't contribute that much, fine. Then we're out. Bye. You don't need us anymore. Bye, Europe. We don't like you anymore. We don't share the same values, and we're not protecting you.
Animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy. And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders. And it is the business of democracy to adjudicate these big questions at the ballot box. I believe that dismissing their concerns, or worse yet, shutting down media, shutting down elections, or shutting people out of the political process protects nothing. In fact, it is the most surefire way to destroy democracy. And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference. even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this
He's talking about Elon.
with all humor. If American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what German democracy...
He thought that was going to get a big laugh, and they didn't realize how enraged these people are now.
What
Well,
no
to be fair,
democracy...
as funny as it is, it's a bad comparison, to be honest, but still.
No, it is. I mean, Greta Thunberg comes across like an idiot, and Elon is just like the richest man on the planet.
Yeah.
And controls the social media platform.
The American,
and Greta goes around going, "How dare you!"
German, or European will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered. Democracy rests on the sacred principle that the voice of the people matters. There's no room for firewalls. You either uphold the principle or you don't. Europeans, the people, have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you.
It's pretty crazy that you need an American vice president to come to the European Union and tell them something we would regard as like basic common sense and like obvious. And he said, hey, you should not be trampling on your own people and oppressing them. You should actually be listening to them and respecting them. Weird.
And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society. To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little. As Pope John Paul II, in my view, one of the most extraordinary champions of democracy on this continent or any other, once said, "Do not be afraid." We shouldn't be afraid of our people, even when they express views that disagree with their leadership. Thank you all. Good luck to all of you. God bless you.
I'd break even that. I'll be like, look, guys, if I look around and see anyone not clapping or not laughing at my joke, you're done. You are done. We're putting sanctions on you. Mess with me. Go ahead, do it. See what happens. So I'd roll. That's how the Dizzle would roll. Anyway, guys, so we went through the entire speech. Very based speech. What?
Sorry, there is a thing that he just mentioned which people may have missed, which is funny though because I just mentioned it earlier. I said something about a firewall. I said something about in the German parliament, parties building a firewall around the AfD, and this being a common thing in some European parliaments where they want to prevent populist parties or popular parties from gaining power by building an elitist firewall around them and saying nobody collaborates with this party. Right now, this is especially a big issue with Germany because in Germany the AfD is about to have a great success in elections, and German parties are trying to build a firewall around the AfD to prevent them from rising and telling each other nobody will collaborate with the AfD or else. And he just, J.D. Vance just referenced that there. He just said that the solution is not to build firewalls. Do not do firewalls. That's what he said. So this is what he's making a reference to. There is no room for firewalls.
Said it right there in Germany and right before their election. What?
Listen to it. Listen to him. Listen to him, you Europeans.
You heard it here. As the only representative of Germany here on this live stream, you better listen to AP.
Yes.
Sarah says, what do you think EU uni students can do under these guys? What do you it's the students who are the I don't know. This is kind of American perspective, but it's usually the students who are on the same side with these dopes.
Oh.
I don't know if that's the same in the EU, but
Powerful.
Students go to school and absorb a bunch of idiotic ideas by the educators and the professors who are teaching the same things that the lunatic politicians are teaching. In fact, the students are the ones who become the next generation of politicians who do this insane stuff. So, yeah, they're part of the problem. With that said, I'm obviously not talking about all students. You can have students who aren't lunatics and so on, but got some problems here. Aaron says, it is quite telling how Islamic eschatology, the Mahdi, Jesus, and Dajjal seems to be an inversion of Christian eschatology. Are you using greater than signs or one to the other?
I think seems to be an error.
Yeah, seems to be an inversion of Christian eschatology. Anti-Christian, false prophet. Oh, Antichrist, false prophet, Jesus. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with Islamic end times. NATO funding, here. AP's about to be humiliated. NATO funding from the U.S. is $967 billion. All others combined is only $507 billion. We absolutely are the primary funding source. You see, you've been humiliated.
So once again, that's not what that is actually about. And I recommend just one very simple thing here, which is, what was that? There was an article about this. But yeah, long story short, it is about defense budgets. The United States pays for is together with Germany actually one of the main funders of NATO functions. But aside from that, the U.S. defense spendings amount to much more than all other NATO members combined. That's what that is about. It's not direct fundings to the NATO.
So you're pointing out, as part of the NATO agreement, all these nations are going to spend a certain part of their GDP on defense. And you're saying that the amount of money that the United States spends on its own defense is being calculated in here as their defense spending. And since they're a NATO member, it's, oh, look, we're spending all this money on our defense. But you're saying, no, that's the defense of the U.S. That's not like money they're handing to NATO.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Basically, yes.
Okay, well, I don't know who to believe. The truth could be anyway. Mohammed Hoblos is due to arrive in the UK today. I heard he's not going to be allowed, but we'll see. Be funny if they let him in. That's the guy who said that pedos who show up to prayer are better than... Oh, he said being a pedo is better than not being a Muslim who doesn't show up to prayer or something like that. Anyway, it'd be funny if they let him speak and then I can't even go there. It'd be funny. Did you see the GNB news interview with Amjad Taha where he said that there are more Islamists in the UK than there are in the Middle East? No, I didn't see that, but wouldn't be surprising at all. The police are on the lookout for a Hamas man with a long, skinny arm. They said he's a terrorist. Good night and God bless you, AP with D and D Wood. That was a terrible joke. Shame on you. Elon Musk with pigtails in his hair. I shouldn't be here. You've stolen my memes with your ignorance and lack of action. How dare you? That would be funny if he did some sort of a impression of Greta. What if Pierce was one of us, just a kafir like one of us, just a dhimmi on the bus, trying to make his way home, back to West London all alone, mugged by Mojab and Dawa clowns. Alas, his ratings, they're all gone. That is the problem. Poor Pierce. Here, minority are jihad simps. Silent majority does nothing. My question is, what can Christian students who know about Islam do? It seems everyone's clueless. Well, we've been there as far as thinking like, you just keep doing stuff and then you wonder if you're actually making a difference. But we know from experience you are making a difference. Things are totally different right now than they were 20 years ago and so on. So, yeah, you just got to Be smart, be wise, keep pushing, learn some things and share them. Like if you learn like one important point about Islam and you just share that and you just keep sharing that, and over the years you share it with 100 people, you're doing your part. Now, by yourself, that would not be enough to change the world. If you have a bunch of people doing the exact same thing over time, that actually changes the world. And there is one of the good things about jihad is they're going to keep pushing. And when I say good, I mean as far as like us realizing what's actually going on. They're going to keep pushing and they're going to keep doing messed up stuff. And so when people change their minds about something, it's going to be people catching on. So, yep, we have pretty terrible times ahead, but people are going to catch on. They are. It's just a matter of how much damage, they have to do before they catch on. Since October 7th, I have become a one-issue voter, and that's to stop Islam from spreading in Europe. The enemy is evil, and they get away from calling for genocide openly in Europe. We should be doing the same. No, you should not be calling for a genocide. You don't need to. Guys, think. This is so weird. It's so weird saying, we need to be calling for complete extermination of them. Guys, if you... in order to do that, in order to get to the point where you could just wipe out millions of people or something like that, you'd have to have like massive government support and stuff. If you ever got to the point where you actually recognize the problem of Islam, you don't even need to do all that. You just have to quit protecting it, blast away at it, and kick out anyone who wants to subjugate you, and you win. Yeah, that's it. You don't need mass murder. You don't need it. If you get to the point where you stop acting like idiots, you've already won. It's done. Islam cannot survive. Islam will not survive a bunch of people acting with common sense for the good of their own people. Islam is done. Stick a fork in it. All right, everyone. What?
White trash panda.
Are you still crying about NATO, man?
There's no NATO, man. There's only NATO. So what the U.S. does is there's a 2% threshold that NATO members abide by which they spend money for the sake of their own defense into operations that are then part of the NATO. The U.S. is, I think, far above 2%. The U.S. spends around 3% or something like that. There are some countries that are way below the 2% threshold, others above, and so on. The average is 2% right now. The U.S. spends, 2% of their GDP on NATO operations. NATO was founded with the motivation of the United States to keep the Soviet Union in check and to keep the Western world under U.S. influence in power. Most of what NATO does around the world is still steered by the United States. The United States is the primary reason why most NATO operations around the world exist. And yes, the United States is the greatest spender of defense. However, the United States doesn't send money to NATO. They do spend money in a very tiny amount for operations. What they do is they spend money on their own troops and their own deployments and so on, their own military spendings as part of NATO operations. So the 2/3 that you're referring to, which happens to be so big because the U.S. has a gigantic GDP, is just the amount of spendings that the United States does in order to fund its own operations within the NATO. It's not money that the United States pays to NATO. It is spendings for yourself. And yes, much of it goes toward the United States deploying troops or, keeping certain bases around the world and so on. But that kind of stuff happens because the United States wants it to happen, because the United States has global influence, because the United States has bases here and there and everywhere, just as that one song goes from the Gummy Bears. But This is basically what it is. The United States is not, it's not spending a bunch of money. It's just spending it's just doing defense funding as the United States should. If the United States didn't want to do it anymore, they could just decrease their spending. They wouldn't suddenly stop funding NATO. It's kind of weird.
The next Zucker Nike says, who votes that David should debate AP on the U.S. owning NATO on modern day debate? I don't care enough, but yes, for the next debate con, we will have AP versus White Trash Panda debating NATO.
That would be funny.
Did you see Jackson Hinkle meet with the Hamas leader? I saw the picture of it. Jackson Hinkle's an all-around scumbag. He's basically the male Lily J, and pretty terrible.
Imagine somebody went out there and started recording videos with Al Qaeda and said, "Hey, lots of us in America, we are great fans of yours." That's basically what Jackson Hinkle is doing.
That should be some serious, like supporting a foreign terrorist organization or something like that. Charges. Did the Germans shower the wrong religion? Yep.
Yes.
The elections in Romania were canceled because Russia was involved, and Georgescu is a non-Putin sympathizer, so I guess cancel him. Guy's got all kinds of problems in Europe. AP song idea, Netta, toy, I'm not your dimmy.
Nice. I'll think about it.
And hey, David, since you are a psychopath, why are you able to laugh and even be joyful? Pardon my ignorance, but I was curious. Thanks for everything. Yeah, I'm not aware of, I've seen people say it in like articles and stuff like that. You can't laugh if you're a psychopath. I'm not aware of that being an actual part of the diagnosis. I've just seen people say it in articles. And so, yeah, all I can say is I've got the diagnosis, antisocial personality disorder. They never said that laughing rules out the diagnosis.
How do you talk when if you're a psychopath? How can you talk?
I talk like this. I talk like this, and you say, "See how psychos talk." I live in the second most Muslim population in Michigan. They're having a cultural jubilee in a few months. I'm going to set up a booth and have a Draw Muhammad contest. Hey, you better be careful with that one.
That's a fun idea.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. All right, everyone. Hey, what are we doing? Are we going live after this again? It's up to you, depending on how you're feeling.
That's a good question.
We were going to do, the plan was to do, you guys can decide. The plan was to do back-to-back because we had two topics that were kind of time sensitive. So we're going to cover the JD Vance talk on my channel. And then the 21, the original plan was the 21 about the Coptic Christians who were executed and so on. We were going to check that out. But then AP wanted to talk about the family and what's going on there today. But he's also sick, just so you know. AP, I am okay. I'm okay to continue if you want to go live on your channel, but that is up to you.
I've been pushing myself. I think it's just I should just call it a day for now. And are you live with Robert Spencer tomorrow?
Yeah, that is at 8:00 tomorrow. So if you wanted to go live earlier, then we could. But that's up to you. If you want to do 6:00 tomorrow to discuss one of these things, we can.
Could possibly do a live stream tomorrow and just do that.
Yep, just let me know. Just let me know. I'm in, man. I'm in. Mark my words. The next time a massive attack happens in the U.S., the same anti-Israel lot will use the same false flag narrative and blame everything but Islam. Yet that happens over and over again.
You know what?
Just imagine being a jihadi and trying to take everyone out and get your message across, and then every time you do it, people say, "Oh, the real reason is this," and you can't even get your message across to these idiots. It's like they won't listen to you. What's up?
You know what? Actually, let's go live in about at 30 minutes.
8:30.
Yes.
Then we're doing it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going live. You heard it here, folks. Yes. You heard it here. And great to meet both of you at DebateCon 5. David, let me escort him to the VIP dinner room. I promise I didn't stand outside the door for 2 hours. As for Islam's spread in Christianity, a smoker's a smoker when their chips are down. A smoker's a smoker when their chips are down. Yep.
I think I remember this guy.
Yeah, good seeing you there, Jeffrey. And Seems James really dialed up this debate con from previous debate cons. Everything like tech-wise, security, number of people there. So it'd be cool if he keeps at it. It becomes like this huge thing with like thousands of people or something like that. You know what I mean? And like big auditoriums.
That's a good. It was a big audience, and the picture quality of the debates looks like a huge, significant increase from previous debate cons. Like the previous debate con looked like garbage, and this one looked amazing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So James is dialing things up, and shout out to Mosh Cohen before we head out for the channel memberships. And apparently we will see you on AP's channel here in just a little bit for everyone who wants to check it out. We will see you very soon. Catch you all next time.